It's March 22nd, the year is 2020. I'm coming to you from the Lostwood Media underground bunker where we've been holed up. We're not having church today because of the coronavirus. And so we're not having church, we're not having Sunday school. So here we go. We're going to have Sunday school anyway. So I hope you kids are ready. So last Sunday we talked about David and Goliath. We talked about the oil and David learning that he was going to be king someday. Today we're going to jump to the other side of David's life where he has been king. And some things have happened in the news that I think are really pertinent for this. So here we go. We've got King David, King Dawid, towards the end of his leadership. And in 2 Samuel 24, it begins, "And again the displeasure of Jehovah burned against Israel, and moved Dawid against them to say, Go number the people of Israel and Yehudah. And the sovereign said to Joab, the commander of the army who was with him, Go, please, throughout all the tribes of Israel, from Dan to Beersheba, and register the people so that I know the number of the people. And Joab said to the sovereign, Even if Jehovah your Elohim does add to the people 100-fold more than there are, and the eyes of my master the sovereign see it, but why does my master the sovereign delight in this matter? However, the sovereign's word was strong towards Joab and against the commanders of the army. And Joab and the commanders of the army went out from the presence of the sovereign to register the people of Israel. And they passed over the Jordan, camped at Aor, and on the right side of the town, which is in the midst of the Wadi Gad, and toward Yazer. And when they came to Gilead, to the land of Tatim Hoshi, and they came to Dan Yan and Sidon. And they came to the stronghold of Sor, to the cities of the Hivites and the Canaanites, and went out to the south Yehudah as far as Beersheba. And when they had gone through all the land, they came to Jerusalem at the end of 9 moons and 20 days. And Joab gave the number of the registration of the people to the sovereign, and there were in Israel 800,000 brave men who drew the sword, and the men of Yehudah were 500,000 men. And the heart of Dawid struck him after he had numbered the people. And Dawid said to Jehovah, I have sinned greatly in what I have done. But now I pray, O Jehovah, take away the crookedness of your servant, for I have done very foolishly. And Dawid rose up in the morning, and the word of Jehovah came to the prophet Gad, Dawid's seer. So his prophet that he went to, his name was Gad. Just so we don't get mixed up. Go, and you shall speak to Dawid. Thus says Jehovah, I hold 3 options before you. Choose one of them, and I do it to you. Gad then came to Dawid and informed him. And he said to him, Should 7 years of scarcity of food come to you in your land? Or, option number 2, would you flee 3 new moons before your enemies while they pursue you? Or option 3, should there be 3 days plague in your land? Now know and see what answer I take back to him who sent me. So now David's got a choice. Does he want to be pursued by the armies of his enemies? Does he want famine to come on all the land? Or 3 days of plague? And we kind of know what 3 days of plague feels like, since how we don't have school anymore, and people have to stay at home, and restaurants are closing up, and all sorts of stuff. Is that what David wants for his people? But Dawid said to Gad, I'm in great trouble. I'm in a lot of trouble. Please, let us fall into the hand of Jehovah, for he is compassion, His compassion is great. But do not let me fall into the hand of man. So he knew that his chances were better with the compassion of Yehovah than the compassion of his enemies or anything else. And Yehovah sent a plague upon Israel from morning till the appointed time. And from Dan to Beersheba, 20,000 men. 20,000 men of the people died. And the messenger, the angel, stretched out his hand over Jerusalem to destroy it. And Yahuwah relented concerning the evil and said to the messenger who was destroying the people, "It is enough. Now stop your hand." And the messenger of Yahuwah was by the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite. So they went from the land of Dan to Beersheba. Everywhere that the census was taken, this angel went, and he was bringing a plague on him until he got to Jerusalem, the city where David was. And the Yehovah said, "Stop, put down your hand. It's enough." And they were at the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite. So he was a Jebusite. He wasn't from Israel, but it was the land that they lived. They had been taken over by Israel, and so he was still living on his own land. And David spoke to Yehovah when he saw the messenger who was striking the people. Oh, I can't even imagine that. Just walking out and seeing this angel. "See, I have sinned and I have done perversely, but let these sheep, what have they done? Let your hand, I pray thee, against me and against my father's house. Don't do this to them. Please, this is something I did. Don't do this to the people." And Gad, his seer, came that day to David and said to him, "Go up, raise a slaughter place to Yehovah on the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite." That's the place where the angel had put down his hand. That's where the plague had stopped. And David, according to the word of Gad, his seer, went up as Yehovah had commanded. And Araunah looked, and he saw the sovereign and his servants coming towards him. This is the king coming towards this Jebusite at his threshing floor. And Araunah went out and bowed his head before the sovereign with his face to the ground. And Araunah said, "Why has my master the sovereign come to his servant?" And David said, "To buy the threshing floor from you, to build a slaughter place to Yehovah, so that the plague can be withdrawn from my people." And Araunah said to David, "Let my master the sovereign just take and offer that which seems good to him. Here are cattle for a sending offering, and threshing implements. They're made of wood, the yokes of the cattle. Burn them. And all these, O sovereign, Araunah has given to the sovereign." And Araunah said to the sovereign, "Yehovah, your Elohim, may he accept you." And the sovereign said, or David said to Araunah, "No. Let me buy it from you for a price. For certain, for I am not offering ascending offerings to Yehovah, my Elohim, without cost. How can it be a sacrifice if you don't sacrifice anything?" And so David bought the threshing floor and the cattle for 50 shekels of silver. And David built a slaughter place to Yehovah there and offered ascending offerings and peace offerings. And Yehovah answered the prayers of the land. And the plague was withdrawn from Israel. So the threshing floor, whatever became of that? David owned it. What was he going to do with it? As a matter of fact, he wanted to build a temple. And the place that he would build it was the place on Mount Moriah. That threshing floor just happens to be on the same mountain where their forefathers, Abraham, had brought Isaac to offer as a sacrifice. It was that place. This is the place that the threshing floor was. This is the place where David brought all the materials to build the temple. But it wasn't him to build the temple. It was his son that would build the temple. And so now I want to fast forward a little ways to where the temple's been built, and this is the opening day. This is the Ark of the Covenant has been brought into the temple for the first time. It's been in a tent. And King Solomon, is offering up the opening prayer. And this is amazing because this is what has to do with our headlines today. Because there's some things that I saw with this coronavirus, and I mean, people are in lockdown in countries all around the world. All around the world, they're being locked down. People having to stay in their homes. We see things on the news of people in Italy and all the death toll and everything. And it seems like it could be scary stuff. Well, I guess it is scary stuff, but it doesn't have to be, because in the midst of all this, I'm going to show you where Yahweh is answering Solomon's prayer. And he's doing it today. And he's doing it because of this virus. And this is just amazing, okay? So imagine you're at the temple and all of Israel is gathered together. Jerusalem is bustling with people. This place has been under construction, and today they're going to open the doors. Solomon goes to dedicate the temple. He walks before the slaughter place in front of all the assembly of Israel, and he spreads out his hands towards the heavens. So yes, Shlomo prayed with hands lifted up. And he said, Yehovah, Elohim of Israel, there is no Elohim in the heavens above or on earth below like you, guarding your covenant and your long, loving commitment with your servants who walk before you with all their heart. And we do walk with all our heart, don't we? Who has guarded that which you did promise your servant David, my father? Indeed, you have both spoken with your mouth and have filled it with your hand, as it is this day. And now, Yehovah, Elohim of Israel, guard what you have promised your servant David, my father, saying, there is not to cease a man of yours before me, sitting on the throne of Israel, only if your sons guard their way to walk before me, as you have walked before me. Now, what that's saying is that there will always be a son of David sitting on the throne for all time, but with a catch. Only if they guard their way, and if they walk before me as you have walked before me. So if they don't guard their way, if they lose their way, if they cease to be obedient, then they will cease to sit on the throne. And now, O Elohim of Yisrael, please let your word come true, which you have spoken to your servant David, my father. For it is true, Elohim dwells on earth. See the heavens and the heavens of the heavens. They're unable to contain you. How much less this house which I have built. Yet shall you turn to the prayer of your servant and his supplication? O Yehovah, my Elohim, listen to the cry and the prayer of your servant, which your servant is praying before you today. For your eyes be open towards this house night and day, toward the place of which you said, my name is there. to listen to the prayer which your servant makes towards this place. Then shall you hear the supplication of your servant, of your people, Yisrael, when they pray towards this place. When you hear in your dwelling place in the heavens. And shall you hear and forgive? If anyone sins against his neighbor and has lifted up an oath on him to cause him to swear and comes and swears before your slaughter place in this house, then hear in the heavens and act rightly. Your servants declaring the wrongdoer wrong, bringing his way on his head, and declaring the righteous right by giving him according to his righteousness. So he's going to rule from this place. And when people go there to pray, then they're going to do right rulings. Later we'll see that the priests would, if somebody had a case, they'd bring them before them and they'd decide for one or the other. I mean, this is going to be a place where people pray. When your people, Yisrael, are smitten before an enemy because they have sinned against you, and they shall turn back to you and confess your name and pray and make supplication to you in this house. In this house. See how important the house is to them. This is the place that they're going to go to pray and seek forgiveness. Then hear in the heavens and forgive the sin of your people, Yisrael, and bring them back to the land which you gave their fathers. Then when the heavens are shut up, and there is no rain because they sin against you, then they pray towards this place and confess your name and turn from their sin because you afflict them. Then hear in the heavens and forgive the sin of your servants, your people Yisrael, for you teach them the good way in which they should walk, and shall give rain to your land as you have given to your people as an inheritance. So this is the place that they're, even if they're, they're out of the land, to bring them back into the land, they're gonna pray to this place to be restored. And when the scarcity of food is in the land, when there is pestilence, blight, mildew, locusts, grasshoppers, when their enemy distresses them in the hand of their cities, any plague, any sickness, whatever prayer, whatever supplication made by anyone of all your people Yisrael, each knowing the plague of his own heart, and shall spread out his hands towards this place. So they're going to pray towards that place when plague hits them, when sickness hits them. Then hear in the heavens and your dwelling place, and forgive and act and render unto everyone according to all his ways those whose heart you know. Because you alone, know the hearts of all the sons of men, so that they fear you in all the days that they live on the land which you gave to our fathers. Now's the part that I'm especially happy about. And also concerning a foreigner who is not of your people Yisrael, but has come from a far land for your name's sake, since they hear of your great name and your strong hand and your outstretched arm, and he shall come and pray towards this place. Now, we've all seen pictures of people, they go to the Wailing Wall, which is not on the Temple Mount per se. It's not where Shlomo was praying this, but it's close. But that's where they go to pray, right? Even President Trump went there to pray. Well, he was definitely a foreigner. He shall come and pray towards this house, here in the heavens, in your dwelling place, and do according to all which the foreigner calls to you, so that all peoples of the earth shall know your name and fear you, as do your people Israel. And know that this house which I have built is called by your name. Now, since the time that he prayed this, a lot has happened in Israel. They were all ran off the land. They've been in exile. They came back. They built another temple that wasn't quite like this one, but they had been conquered by different countries. Yeshua came. He prophesied that the temple would be destroyed in 70 AD. It was destroyed. They destroyed it so bad that they built fires inside of it so hot that the gold plating that they had on the walls was just running out between the bricks. And just as he predicted, not one stone was left on top of another, to where now it's just the foundation is all that's left. But since then, the Muslims have built a mosque there called the Dome of the Rock. And so they control that whole area up there. So you can go to Israel, you can go to the Western Wall, you can pray like the president did. But if you try to go up onto the Temple Mount area there, you get a guide, and you have the Muslims have their own police force there that keep track of people. And you're absolutely forbidden to pray there. You're forbidden to have any sort of religious materials. If they see somebody up there moving their lips but not saying anything, you'll be arrested because they know you're praying. And so this place that he put his hands up to heaven and prayed for it to be that they would face this place, that it would be a place of prayer, has been denied. Until the coronavirus came around. Now, I saw video footage of the Temple Mount area, and the mosque was closed, and the security forces that they had there weren't out like they normally were. And so there was no lines of people to come because people were leaving Israel, but there was a group that was there, and they were going around, and they went up to the Temple Mount, and they looked, and there's nobody else there. And so they began to pray. They began to do what Shlomo had prayed so long ago. They brought that back. And so the prophecy was being fulfilled that would be a place that people would go when there was sickness, and that they would raise their hands towards there and pray. And I got to see video footage of that, and it was just amazing. So none of that would have happened if Dawid hadn't have bought that little plot of land. And Dawid never would have bought that plot of land if it hadn't have been for the word of Yahuwah saying to build an altar there so that the plague, the sickness that had come upon their land would stop. And none of that would have happened if Dawid hadn't have gotten full of himself, I guess, and decided to find out how many people he had. How big should my army really be? Well, that was kind of a bad attitude for a king to have if he's looking to Yahuwah to be the leader of the country. So in these times, I guess, just know that we can raise our hands and pray for healing, that there's people going back to Jerusalem, back to the Temple Mount, and they've been able to pray just as Shlomo prayed. And we can expect good things. Like the Chinese proverb, which is actually a curse, that may live in interesting times. Well, we live in interesting times. But just know that Yahuwah is still on the throne, and he's still taking care of matters here. And be of good cheer.